Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards. In this video, let's talk about 2021 Topps Chrome and which rookies you should be targeting. Okay, so we know a lot of the rookies that are in 2021 Topps Chrome. We have Series 1, Series 2, and a few new additions, which we'll get to in a moment. But I want to talk about the checklist just for a very quick instance and kind of discuss some things that may impact Topps Chrome. I want to show you my opinion on who are the best rookies to buy and kind of discuss those as well. So the first thing, let's look at the checklist for Topps Chrome. The first thing is it's really expensive. It's not a cheap product. Hobby boxes are $265. I remember when they were like not even that long ago, 2019 or 2018, you could get them for 100 to 150 at most. If we scroll down, the first thing I want to say is we have a couple new refractors. So we have the magenta refractor, the magenta speckle refractor, the aqua refractor, and the aqua wave refractor. So those are all brand new. And the thing is, they're adding new refractors in so that way there's increased print runs. You got to increase the odds of getting something good to keep people interested and also to make it a more fun product with more color. I don't love adding in more color. We can see on sales and comps, the true colors like the true blue, the golds, the oranges, the colors that have been around for a long time go for more. And that's just because nobody really wants these brand new colors. But regardless, it's still cool. They're still pretty. I think they look really nice from the ones I've seen on eBay so far from the product that got out earlier before the release than it was supposed to. If we go down the base, like variation refractors, those are just going to be, green, gold, orange, red, super refractor. If we scroll down here, you'll see that the checklist is 219 cards. It's actually 220. If you scroll down, you'll see 220, but card number 131 does not exist in the set for some reason. So that's that. But let's go look at rookie autographs. That's what I really wanted to talk about. There are 133 rookie autographs, different rookies on this autograph checklist. And for this reason, they've actually excluded some really big names on the rookie checklist. All right, so if we go look at the previous rookie videos that I made, I did one for Series 1 and Series 2. These were the rankings, so sorry for being a spoiler if you haven't seen them yet. But regardless, you can see I color coordinated them so you can have an idea of what rookies are where. So Pavin Smith, he only has an autograph. That's what yellow means. Same with Han-Sung Kim, Luis Garcia, Trevor Rogers, and so forth. Luis Campusano only has a base card, and same with Keibert Ruiz for some reason, which is really interesting. Don't love that, but it is what it is, especially when there's 133 rookies. But there are a few that basically have, green means they have an autograph and a base card. Blue means they have a base autograph, a base card, and a short print. So that's kind of what it looks like here. So now let's just jump into the rankings. A couple things that I look at. I have the player's name in the first column, their prospect rankings. So these prospect rankings are like if they were a top 10 prospect, they'll get 10 points. If they were not a ranked prospect, they'll only get 1 point. If they were, 70th prospect, they'll get 3 points and so forth. Minor league stats, just how well they performed in the minor leagues, 1 to 10. Age is going to be determined if they're 20 years old, they get 10 points, 21, 9 points. If you're 28, you get 2 points and so forth. And the major league stats, how they perform so far, and the grand total, which will average to give us an idea of who is where. So the first player that I want to talk about is Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth, he is hurt essentially by the fact that he got no recognition as a prospect. And he's older. According to this, he's 27 years old. He's been one of the best players, one of the best rookies this year offensively, and he looks fantastic for a great team. But because his prospect rank was so low, that's why he is here. I can see an argument for him being higher. After that, we have Jazz Chisholm. Jazz is this very similar situation. I would say his major league stats are actually lower than an 8 at this point. You could even argue like a 6 or 7. He's still a positive WAR player, but his stats aren't super sexy. What Jazz has compared to other players is he basically has that it factor. He's somebody that you really can look at like a Ken Griffey Jr. And not saying he is Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not saying that. But he has that it factor in the sense that he is really cool. A lot of swagger. He's a stud. With Jazz, I like his age. Right now he's 23 years old. His minor league stats were never really that great, which kind of makes me worried about his major league stats because he strikes out a ton. But regardless, he's still a top player to look at. And by the way, I want to say this before I dive too deep into this list. There's 133 rookie autographs I could be saying right now. I'm picking my top 15. So just be aware we may differ on a few of them, but I tried to get basically the very best ones on these numbers. After Jazz, we have Trevor Rogers, and Trevor Rogers has looked really good. He's probably one of the top players for Rookie of the Year this year. Him and Jake Cronenworth maybe has a chances as well. He might have already lost his rookie eligibility from last year. His top rookie cards are this year, but I don't think he's actually considered a rookie. But regardless, Trevor Rogers, let's say he was a 7, like a top 30 prospect. You're looking at a 7.25, which is almost the very top of the list. So he's a really good pitcher, and he's only 23. That's the type of pitcher you may want to take a flyer on and buy a Topps Chrome rookie autograph because it has the potential to be worth quite a bit in the future. Look at Justin Verlander. You have Verlander, you have Chris Sale is even relatively valuable. His autograph goes for $80 to $100 probably right now. It was around 30 to 50 when he was hurt, but it's probably higher now. So I would say Trevor Rogers, if you can get an autograph for $20, I think it's a pretty good opportunity for you. Next up, we have Nick Madrigal. I like Nick Madrigal. There's some things I don't like about him. He doesn't have a lot of power, and maybe that'll develop as he ages. Right now, he's only 22 years old, but I like the way he plays. His MLB stats could be higher than the 5.5. Let's say I rounded it up to 7. That's going to put him at 6.25 for the average rating score. But regardless, I really like Nick Madrigal because he is a very traditional player. He has a really high batting tool, which means he'll be able to have lots of hits throughout his career, and it'll make him a very solid player for a long time. So his major league stats so far aren't super sexy. I think he's like a 1 point something WAR, which isn't bad. But regardless, he just needs to get a little bit more power, and he'll be able to be a better offensive player. Next up, we have Joey Bart. This is a hard one because Joey Bart is in the minor leagues still. His major league stats weren't that impressive when he played, but he was a top 20 prospect. His minor league stats are good. He is 24 this year. He'll be 25 next year. He's not going to play much this year as Buster Posey is manning catcher for the Giants. And so for that reason, that's why he's lower on this list. He'll be a 25. Basically, I don't know if he's lost his rookie eligibility yet when he probably gets traded in the offseason for pitching or whatever they're going to be doing with as the Giants. I don't think they're going to hold on to him unless they plan on moving to Buster Posey to first. I don't see that happening. Unless he platoons, it's probably the path he's going to be on, which would be good for his rookie cards. If he has a starting job every day, he has that offensive potential to be a really good player. But he is older, so just be aware of that as you're investing in him. Next, we have Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle historically has been a very good offensive player in the big leagues. He's slowed down in the last few months from where he was, but he also won Rookie of the Month, I think, in June. So he's still a really good player. That's why I have him as an 8. You could put him as a 7, and I wouldn't argue against that. Maybe a 6 at the lowest. But either way, I still view him as a better investment because he's an everyday player. The part that hurts him that's not shown in these numbers is the fact he plays for the Orioles, and he will be on the Orioles for a few more years before they're good. That won't help his values, but once the Orioles are good, once you have, Adley coming up and other top prospects they have, number 1 draft picks, then maybe they will be a real contender, and that'll help Mountcastle's values. But right here, he was a top 60 prospect heading into this year, and he's 24 years old. So once you get to that age 24 season as a rookie, you're pretty old relatively. You want to be around age 20 like Wander Franco is this year for his rookie year in order to get the counting stats needed to reach the Hall of Fame. Those types of things are pretty important. Very few Hall of Famers debuted after age 24 just because it's hard to get the stats needed to get there. Next, we have Sam Huff, and I think as I'm looking at Sam Huff, I realized afterwards, so this is me saying I made a slight mistake. He has a very small sample size in the big leagues. And because of that, he could be lower. And I think you probably should value a few of these guys maybe slightly higher than Sam Huff. But either way, he has a lot of potential that I really like. He's a catcher for the Rangers. He is a power hitting catcher, and he has a decent batting average from the minor leagues. He has a 325 batting average for the big leagues before he had to have surgery and went on the IL. But he hit like a 500-foot home run in the minor leagues just barely. He could be a really good player. And for that reason, I have him high. And maybe the good thing about having him at number 9 is the fact that he will be a cheap autograph compared to some of these other players. So it could be a really low risk, high reward type play. Make sure you do your research on him first to make sure he's what you would like. He is only in his age 22 season, which helps a lot for these type of rankings. If it's just opinionated, if it's just based off of the numbers. But I still think his MLB stats may be a little bit too high. Let's say I put him at a 5. Because he hasn't done as much as I thought he did. He's still a 6. He'd probably be around number 11. So after that, we have Dylan Carlson, who has been great. I like Dylan Carlson. He's only 22 years old for the Cardinals. And the thing about Dylan Carlson that I really like is the fact that he is a good defender. And on top of that, he is developing as a good hitter. His MLB stats aren't the highest because he hasn't been that much better than a lot of players, but he's only 22. Great defense, and he will be around for a long time in the big leagues, which is really good for values as well. So he might be a good one to target if you're a Cardinals fan or if you believe in a very young, high ceiling prospect like Carlson. Next up, we have Casey Mize. I like Casey Mize a lot. I did not include pitchers in the Series 1 video I made, but I did include them for this video just because I think they are worth buying every once in a while. Trevor Rogers was only lower because he wasn't a top prospect. Let's say he was the same as Casey Mize, he'd be at 7.25. So, while Casey Mize is at 6.75. So take that for what it's worth. But he has like a 2.5 WAR in the big leagues right now. I think he's 6-6 with a mid-3s ERA. That's pretty good for his first year. He is 24, so he's not young, but that doesn't scare me as much for a pitcher as it does for a hitter. If he's younger as a pitcher, that's just great. That's awesome because pitchers can age well. They will either peak in their 30s after throwing so many pitches, right, early 30s, and they'll be done, or they'll be able to reinvent themselves and not avoid some major injuries and pitch till they're 40 to 42. That's what we see with a lot of pitchers like Greinke and Scherzer, and Scherzer's I think 36, but the point is he's still elite, probably will pitch another 3 years or so. So the point is I like Mize. After that, we have Ian Anderson, another pitcher. Ian Anderson has been great for the Braves. He's been a top prospect, and he's proven on the field. His minor league stats aren't that good. I think he has like a high 2.9s ERA, which is good, but he hasn't been all that impressive in comparison to some other players' minor league statistics. So that's the only thing that's holding him lower on this list. But hey, at number 6 out of a whole checklist for rookie cards of 133, still pretty awesome for a player like Ian Anderson. I would recommend with Ian Anderson, he might be expensive out the gate because Braves fans love Ian Anderson. They love their players, and they're going to be collecting him. But if you can get him for cheap, $20, I think it may be a good low risk, high reward. Again, if he's a $40 to $50 autograph, I don't know if that's worth it. Again, you can get Chris Sale, who arguably is on a Hall of Fame path for that same price. So just a heads up there. After that, we have Jo Adell. And you may be wondering, why the heck is Jo Adell this high? That's because he is a top prospect. He has great minor league stats, and he's young. It has not translated to the big leagues yet. But regardless, he had a grand slam, a go-ahead grand slam a couple of days ago. Or is that last night? Or is that today? Either way, he had it just barely. And the point of that is, I think he's going to figure it out. He's chasing less. He looks a lot better in the outfield, which is saying something because he was terrible last year. And that's why he's number 2 minor league MLB stats here. Just he hasn't done that much, but he's starting to look better, which is promising for Adell collectors. He is in his age 22 season, so I think he is a good opportunity, but he will probably be really expensive as well. So make sure you're taking on enough risk that you're comfortable with because he's a pretty high risk player in regards to his future potential. Next is Alex Kirilloff. He is a good player. He's kind of forgotten about. Kirilloff is just consistent across the board. He was a high prospect. He had great minor league numbers. His age, he's 24, which again is kind of like a scary thing about him. Only thing I don't really like. His big league stats, he's a solid major league player. I think he's at least 1 WAR or right around 1 WAR so far in his rookie year. That's not bad for a 7.5 score, which is the highest so far. I like Kirilloff, and he is kind of slept on in comparison to some of the other rookies you're going to be seeing on the next 3. So I would recommend looking into him. Another player that I like, who's also number 3, is Ke'Bryan Hayes. He has not been as good this year as he was last year, but his whole major league body of work together has been really good, probably on a 9. He's probably been one of the best offensive rookies that we've seen the last year to 2 years. Luis Robert was great for the first half of 2020, really bad the second half, but Ke'Bryan Hayes in 2020 was really good, and this year he's been good. Not really good, he's just been a good player. For that reason, I think he should be considered. Before this year, he's a 10 here, prospect rankings, he was a top 10 prospect. Before this year, he wasn't even a ranked prospect, maybe in the 90s, but once he was good in the big leagues, all the prospect experts said, yeah, he is a top 10 prospect. But he's looked good. He is 24 as well. Take that for what it's worth. And I like Ke'Bryan Hayes. I probably wouldn't myself put huge money into him, but I do like him as a player, and I can see your reasoning behind picking him. Next up, 2 players that were not in Series 1 or Series 2. There's quite a few players on that rookie autograph checklist this way, which I didn't highlight yet, but there are quite a few, and I'll go back and talk about that. Next is Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn was a top prospect in 2019. He only had minor league experience in 2019 and 2020. There was no minor league year, and then this year he was called up to the big leagues. He is young, 23 years old. He's a slugger. He's really good. Like, offensively, he's great. Defensively, he's not so hot yet, but hopefully he can figure that out. If not, he'll be a DH and I'll be fine. But, he has great minor league stats. He has pretty good major league stats, and he was a top 20 prospect. So for Andrew Vaughn, for appearing on this list, that's awesome. I think I may have accidentally put an extra R in here, so sorry. But regardless, I like Andrew Vaughn. I would recommend if you want to pick up a White Sox autograph, he probably won't be too expensive, but he is a good player. Maybe look at his Bowman Chrome autograph instead for probably close to the same price right now. Next up, we have Kalenick. Kalenick, he's really good, but he's not looked really good in the big leagues. He was a top 10 prospect. His minor league stats are amazing. He's only 21 years old, but his big league offensive stats have been terrible. He's not looked good yet. He's shown flashes of what he can be, but his overall body of work is not so impressive. So for Kalenick, I would just say, if you want to be risky, he is the best ceiling prospect that's on this list. He's the one player that'll be able to be a good payoff for you. But I don't want to say go buy him because he's probably going to be expensive. And I know his Bowman Chrome autographs are like $200 right now. So if his Topps Chrome autograph's $100, I would definitely go with the Bowman Chrome autograph. The difference is the Bowman Chrome autograph is in his Mets uniform while his Topps Chrome will be in his Mariners uniform. So that may help value-wise and get that gap closer. But historically, if you look at other players, the Bowman Chrome consistently goes for more. So just my 2 cents. This is my personal list of who I'd be targeting if I were opening product. These are who I'd be excited about if you pull them. Good luck pulling anybody awesome. There's a lot of other B tier, C tier players in that checklist. So overall, it's a good product. Enjoy it. Enjoy picking up singles. I think that's where you're going to make your bread and butter on this product just because there are so many players. Overall, one thing I do want to say again, on this list, you'll see a lot of players that are not in Series 1 or 2. They're going to be safe for update. You're also going to be seeing Jonathan India missing from this list, which makes sense. They want to at least have one headliner that's exclusive to update. But you'll see if you scroll down. So we already talked about him, but Andrew Vaughn's here. Mickey Moniak's over here. He was a #1 prospect, I think, in 2016, but he has not played good in the big leagues. But there's a lot of other players in that same situation. So I just recommend looking at this checklist, targeting them, buy that first rookie autograph if it's cheap. Sometimes they're priced really high, but if you like somebody, take a risk. It's always fun that way. One more thing I want to point out is Kalenick does not have a base rookie card in this. They're saving him for Topps Update and Topps Chrome Update, which I like. Thank you for doing that, Topps. But they do have a super short print of Kalenick. So that is going to be a very hot card. If you pull that card, I think it's going to be worth $300 to $500. So that'd be my biggest chase card in the entire set if I had to pick a base card. On the super short print, you also have Joe Adell, which is another high ceiling prospect. And if you scroll up to just the base image variation, there's a lot of great players in here. But I think this will be the biggest card of the whole set. All right, guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, disagreements, let me know down in the comments below. I'm totally understanding if you don't agree with everything I said because there are 133 players to pick between. But this is my personal opinion. I appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscription button so you don't miss anything. And I'll catch you in the next video.